3, 2, 1, cheers. Welcome back to another episode of the Ben and Brittany podcast. We still don't know if we want to call it Ben and Brittany or Brittany and Ben. I like Ben and Brittany.
I like Ben and Brittany.
You do?
I do.
All right, cool. Ben and Brittany it is from here on out.
Chris Helfrich calls us Bentany.
Bentany. Mm-hmm. That's just weird.
I thought
Thanks for that, Chris.
When we get married someday, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. BG squared. I thought that was cute.
All right, yeah. Because both of our initials will be BG then. Mm-hmm. Brittany Guiles, Ben Guiles.
And you have BG Music, BG Cinematics, BG Vlogs.
BG2. BG Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Might do some rebranding in the future. But for now, we're Ben and Brittany. All right,
what would it be if we had a baby?
I don't know.
What is it called when it's to the third power? Is it just BG?
Cubed.
Cubed.
Yeah, BG cubed. Yeah, but what about Kailyn and Kinsley? We can't just leave them out of the family.
They get to be added.
Yeah.
By default. They may not have the last name, but they're still a part of the BG family.
But it wouldn't be BG unless it was Ben Giles Jr. I don't want a junior. I want my son, if I have a son, to be his own man.
That's right.
He doesn't need to share my name.
We won't talk about that.
Be his own person. But that's not what this podcast is about, Brittany.
Sorry, I took...
All right.
Sorry.
So I need a sip of beer for this topic because this topic is parenting fails, and we've had plenty. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say more or less than the average person, but I will say that it happens. You fail as a parent because, let's be honest, nobody really knows exactly what they're doing. You just have an educated guess, right?
And every child is different. So what works with Kailyn when she was 2...
Oh, let's hold them up. Meanwhile, this is Kailyn. For those of you who are watching the podcast, it is on video. This is Kailyn.
And this is Miss Kinsley, the redhead.
Hold it up for the thumbnail. We gotta have a thumbnail.
But don't judge. Right. Sometimes we call her Ginger Snap, but it's totally fair.
Yeah, Kinsley has bright red hair. Kailyn is a really stark blonde. Mm-hmm. But we're gonna talk about some fails that we had. Before we started this podcast, Brittany wrote down some of the notable fails that we had, and I think the first one I'd like to start by saying it was a fail on my behalf, and I'm just going to tell the story.
I think before we get into that, though, it's just I think it's good to talk about it because I think some people feel so guilty. It's funny. It's funny in the moment.
It was not funny at the time.
It was not funny in the moment, but it's funny now, and just know,
I thought I was going to have a panic attack.
You're not alone. I think because, social media, it's always oh, look at my kid. It's so cute. Guilty. I'm guilty of that. I'm always posting good pictures of the girls.
Yeah.
Never posting pictures of them when they're having a meltdown in the middle of Target because they want the Minnie Mouse potty seat when they don't even need potty seats anymore because they use the big girl toilet.
Or they
I don't post stuff like that.
Another container of slime, and they haven't even played with the last 3. Or if they did, they threw it in the trash because it got all over the house.
Or because it doesn't have activator.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. Kailyn.
That could be a podcast in itself. Slime with activator. If you know where to find slime with activator
Apparently
in it.
activator is what makes the slime stick together. And Kailyn was having a conniption because the last thing of slime we got her did not have activator in it, and it was not sticking together.
That's our first fail.
Mm-hmm.
That is our first fail of the evening.
Yeah, slime.
Slime without
without activator. Fail number 1. But no, the real fail... And this is
probably the biggest
fail. Super funny now, but it was very, very taxing on my psyche when it was happening. So.
And you had a show that night.
And I had a show that night, and I was off all day. After this happened, I was my brain was frazzled. What had happened was, we split off, and Brittany took the girls, or you took Kailyn to a fair.
No, I took Kailyn to a buyer consultation at Starbucks.
But it was a trip.
But no, remember I took the girls to the fair when you went to your show.
Well, You took her somewhere. Where did you take her?
I took her to Starbucks for a buyer consultation.
Okay.
She came with me for me to go over the home buying process for first-time home buyers. And because it was just her, it was somebody I knew, I was able to bring her with me.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Kinsley and Kinsley is 2 years old, by the way, go to the park together. And we're just having a day, having fun at the park. Well, we get to the park, and it is... What is it? There was nobody there. I don't know what day of the week it was, but there was no one there. It was just Kinsley.
It was a Saturday morning.
It was a Saturday morning, and it was just Kinsley and me. And this park was not right next to the road. You had to turn off the road down this little, like, path, and then you got to the parking lot where the park was. And Kinsley and I are playing, having a great time. And I know that, I need to have my phone on me at all times in case Brittany calls, because if she calls me for something, can't get a hold of me, she's going to start to think something happened to Kinsley and I. So I always keep my phone on me. While we were playing, I realized that my phone was dead. It was about to die. It was at 1%. So I grabbed Kinsley and we go to my car to plug the phone in. When we get there, I realize that my phone will not charge unless the car is started. So I turn the car on, I plug my phone in, it's charging, we're good to go. We go play some more. After a little while goes by, it's time to leave. I get Kinsley and I put her in the car, which is running, in the passenger seat because I have all of my band equipment in the back. And there is no back seat. It's just the driver's seat and the passenger seat. So I strap her in to the front seat like a NASCAR driver, because she's 2 years old and her car seat has harnesses over the shoulders, over the legs. Like, I strapped her in, and I close the door and I start walking to the driver's side, and I hear, and I was like, oh no! Oh my God, no! I ran over back to her side and I try to open the door and the door is locked. Kinsley had the ability to reach one button, and it was the lock button. And she locked herself, my keys, my cell phone, and the car was running in the car. And I freak out. I'm like, oh my God, Kinsley, what did you do? Oh my God! And I'm looking at her, and she's just looking at me like, are you gonna get in, big guy? My juice needs opened. I can't open it on my own, you idiot. Get in the car. Like, she has no idea what is happening. And I'm like, Kinsley, you need to reach for the button, the silver button. And she's just looking at me like, can we go home? Like, what are you doing? Is this a game? Is this a game? This is not a fun game. What are you doing, big guy? Get in the car. And I'm like, Kinsley, you locked yourself in there. I cannot get to you. And after about 10 minutes, I am like starting to think I'm going to have to break a window. And the only reason I didn't break a window right away was because I knew that if she just stretched her arm a little farther, she could get the unlock. And I felt like I could talk her into doing that. And like a little bit goes by, and I noted the only reason I didn't unlock the door is because the heater wasn't on. On the way there, she was cold and she asked me to turn the heat on, so I turned the heater on, and my heater in my car like kicks booty hole. It gets hot, real fast. So if she locked herself in the car and then the heater was on, I would have immediately went to the back driver's side door on the opposite side of her and busted that window in and got her out. But the heater wasn't on, so I was like, okay, we can get through this without calling mom. Like, I was panicking so hard because I couldn't leave the car to try to flag somebody down, because if you, like, Kinsey would have panicked, because like if you just leave a child in a car and walk, I don't know how far it was, but it was a good distance. It was like a good 70 yards to the road to try to flag somebody down. She's not going to be able to see me. She freaks out. That's the worst part. If she was freaking out in the car while she was locked in there, I would have broke the window. But she wasn't. She was just sitting there like, ha, I'm 2. I'm fine. When are you going to get in? What's going on here? She was just not fazed. And then after a while, I start to get a little more, I don't know if intense is the word, but a little bit more panicked. I'm like, Kinsley, Like, listen to me. Listen to me. You need to get wiggle your arms out of your car seat. You need to reach this button. And I'm pointing to this button. And at this point, I'm yelling to her because my car is on and the radio is playing. So if you were somebody that just happened to walk by, you saw me screaming at a 2-year-old in my car. And I'm just, so all of this is going down. And finally, resourceful little Kinsley, after about 35 minutes, she figured out how to wiggle her little arms out of her car seat, and she reached the door and pulled the handle, and I got in. And as soon as I got that door open, I didn't like hug Kinsley or kiss her or nothing. I went right for the keys, pulled them out, and was like, oh, they were in my hand, and I was like, Kinsley, high five, we did it. And she was just like, how about time? High-fived me, we got in and drove away, and I was losing my mind.
You were definitely off the rest of the day.
Yeah, because it was bad. Like, I couldn't call anybody. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
It was just Kinsley and I back a dirt road by ourselves, her locked in the car. And I didn't know if I could break the window or if it was going to cut me or like what was going to happen. There was all these variables.
Yeah. And you weren't at like a super popular park either.
No, there was no one there.
Yeah. That park isn't, the one that you went to was not a big, I mean, it's not a bad park, but it's just.
It was a nice park.
A lot of people just don't go to that one.
It was off the beaten path. It was not like right next to a school or anything.
Yeah. But
yeah,
that is definitely, it's better that it happened with Kinsley than it happening with Kailyn, because Kailyn has anxiety like I do. And
Kailyn at 2 years old would have freaked.
Kailyn immediately would have started crying. Like there would have been no talking her through it. Or maybe it would have taken a while, like to get through the tears.
Yeah.
But
Kinsley was just like, she was a rock the whole time. At one point she looked at me and started to like get a sad face and be about to cry, and I heard her say, I don't like this game. Like she thought it was a game. And she thought that I was just not getting in. but that only lasted for about 10 seconds, and then she started to try to get, she started to realize what was happening.
Right. And she realized that she had to get out of that car seat so you could get in.
But
she's a smart little whip.
She is. That was crazy though. Like
yeah.
I never want to experience that again. That screwed me up.
And then, same day, so Ben then had a show that night, which he forgot like half the stuff he was supposed to bring because he was so like distraught from his experience earlier in the day.
I left all the merch at home, all this.
Yeah. And it's understandable because that's never a good feeling to lock a kid in a car. At the end of the day, she was safe. She was safe, and that's what's important. She was safe. Mm-hmm. She was in her car seat. There wasn't like a way for her to like put the car in gear with you outside. You know what I mean? Like she was.
No, she could have.
She couldn't reach.
She probably couldn't reach, but she might have been able to kick it.
Well, I think had you noticed that happening, I think you would have broke a window. Yeah. But at the end of the day, though, we
were on flat ground. There was nowhere for her to roll.
She was safe.
Yeah.
And you figured it out, and it was fine. But mentally distraught, nonetheless. And anyway,
that's why I need beer.
Yeah.
We don't have the kids on Wednesdays, by the way. We record these podcasts on Wednesdays. So on Wednesday evenings, Brittany and I podcast and have a beer.
We never have them Wednesdays and Thursdays. So Wednesday is kind of like our chill night, like, breathe. But that same day, so Ben goes to his show. So I took the girls to Mayfair at Kailyn's school. And a friend of mine from high school met me there with her daughter, and there was a couple blow-up houses, and there was this one big one, but it was supposed to be like the wacky blow-up house. Well, I let Kinsley go in with Kailyn, because I'm thinking it's a blow-up house. Like, how crazy can this blow-up house be? Well, out comes Kailyn.
No Kinsley.
Out comes her friend. No Kinsley. So I'm like, all right, well, wait a minute. A minute goes by, and I'm like, where the heck is Kinsley? So then I start thinking, like, could somebody have, like, snagged her from the back and me not realize it? Like, all these things start going into my head. Does she fall and get hurt? Like, of course, the kidnapping one is the first one that I think of. So I asked my friend, like, thank goodness she was there. I asked her, can you wait with Kailyn and your daughter, and I'll go in and get Kinsley? And of course she said yes. So I went in looking for Kinsley, and as I go in this bounce house, It's a lot crazy. Like, it is called the Wacky Bounce House for
like a
reason. It was a maze, and they had like these blow up tubes to help make it look like a maze. They were way taller than Kinsley. So I'm like, at that moment, I'm like, she's lost in here. Like, there's no way she could, from her perception, she can't see over anything.
She could easily spin around and not know which way.
She could just be walking in circles. And I'm like going through this thing, and there's like these climb things. You got to climb up, and then you got to slide down. But you could go left or right. Like, it truly was like a corn maze for a kid. And I was like, oh my gosh. I start panicking, and this little boy, I think, could tell. Like, he was probably 8 or 9 that was in there, and he saw me, and he was like, are you okay? And I was like, I can't find my daughter. Have you seen a little redhead? And he goes, I'll help you. Like, thank goodness Kinsley has red hair. Because
otherwise you'd be like, I seen a girl.
Right.
I need to find a girl.
So yeah, it was just it was so easy because she was probably the only redhead there that at least I noticed. And he helped me look for her, and he was able to get in some of the places that I probably could have fit. But it was a lot easier for him to go through these tunnels.
No 29-year-old mom wants to be crawling through a bounce maze.
I mean, but I would. And all of a sudden I hear him go, I found her. And I looked over, and he actually had to like lift her up to me.
Yeah.
And Kinsley at first was like, when I first saw her, she was like all smiles. But then when he started to pick her up to me,
she got panicked.
She started to panic. She was like, Mom. And I was like, I'm right here. He's just helping you get back to Mommy. And then she was fine.
Yeah.
But after that, I was like, yeah, no more bounce houses. But that all happened in one day. Like, she got locked in a car in the morning with Ben. And then that afternoon, she got lost in a wacky bounce house. And I was like, this kid, is super resilient. Because right after that, she started to pull away from me because she wanted to go to an ice cream truck. Because my friend was like, oh, I bet she won't leave your side now. Because she kind of like, she's not afraid.
She's not afraid of anything.
And I said, no, we can't get ice cream just yet. We need to wait until the end. And she just started to walk away from me.
Yeah.
Like, she did not care that she was just lost 2 seconds ago.
Yep.
She's just very brave and very stubborn.
That reminds me, when you just said she's not afraid of anything, that reminded me of another parenting fail that we did not put on this list.
Oh, Old Navy, cacaw.
That wasn't a fail. That was just a funny thing.
I don't know.
My parenting fail is I almost let Kinsley drown 4 feet from me.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
It wasn't you.
I almost let her drown.
How did you let her drown?
Because she was right next to me and I did not know she was drowning.
Well, okay, let's back up because this sounds really bad.
Well, let me tell this one. Okay, so we're at the pool, right? And Brittany's brother shows up with water balloons. So we're all having fun with these water balloons. Well, Kinsley and Kailyn are in the pool with their swimmies on and everything, and when
they have like mad amounts of floaties on.
Yeah, like they couldn't drown if they tried when they have these floaties on. Well, we let Kinsley take them off because she was complaining about them, and she was just sitting at the shallow end where there are steps, and she was splashing around with her feet in the water. Right next to the shallow end where the steps are one of those underwater jets that like feed the pool. That was where I was filling up a water balloon. When Kinsley decided to step down or to walk into the pool, didn't realize that there was an extra step. That next step was too deep for her. She could not touch. So she...
Back up a little bit.
What?
She actually said, before she did it, she knew what she was doing.
Oh, did she?
Because she said, watch me. Because... like Dennis was jumping in and doing like crazy dives, and then my dad was like cannonballing in, and we were all throwing these water balloons at each other. So Kinsey's like, I'm in, like I'm game, watch me. And she like jumped into the pool.
And I'm right next to her filling up a water balloon like...
And meanwhile, I don't want anyone to think that we took our eyes off her. Because
no, you were watching her. I was just... I took my eyes off of her
the entire time.
1 second.
So Ben took his eyes off of her, but I was still watching. I would never let her near the pool without a floaty. I would never let her near the pool even with a floaty without keeping my eyes on her. Yeah. The fact was, is that she just decided when Ben wasn't, because Ben normally would catch them.
I was right there, yeah.
And he was right next to her. She just decided Ben didn't need to catch her.
No,
Mommy didn't need to catch her. And she was like, watch me. And she just went. And I yelled for Ben because he was closest. And that's like, Ben is like my security blanket. So that's like my anxiousness. Like, I'm not yelling at him, but I'm yelling for him because I know.
You just yelled Ben, and I turned around to see what you wanted. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what?
And then
I see you sprinting towards me, and I look right next to me, and Kinsley's like,
not funny then. Funny
now. And then we got her, and she didn't even cry.
No,
she was just like, oh,
I remember happened? I like dove them because like running to her was not quick enough, and I like dove under, and when I went under the water, I pushed her up above the water. You grabbed her.
Yeah.
And then I came up, and like I was about in a panic attack. She was totally fine. This all happened in like 2 seconds.
Yeah. She's just like, what happened?
She didn't swallow any water. Like, she knew how to hold her breath. She was fine. But then she just goes, what happened? And I was like, Kinsley, you cannot jump in the pool without your floaty.
Yeah, she knows
you
that
don't
now.
float. Like, at that point in her life, she had not connected.
No.
That it was the floaty that kept her up. So she thought she could just jump in. So anyway, to this day, she's not allowed to even be on the gate without a floaty, even if we're all in there. Because I just... At the end of the day, that's all it takes is 1 second. Like, you hear that all the time. Mm-hmm. You cannot take your eyes off of your child when they're in a pool.
They will be gone.
Because had Ben looked away and I looked away, assuming that the other one was watching,
for 10 seconds,
that could have been bad.
That could have been the end of her.
But and to this day, we're very good. Like, if I have to go to the bathroom, say, I'll be like, Ben, I'm going to the bathroom. It's a very clear, like, okay, Ben knows.
Yeah. Then I'm like, bing. Right
His
on.
eyes are the only ones. And then same thing, babe, I'm going inside to get a water. Okay, now I know. Like, it's just my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way that first came off was like almost worse than what it really was.
I was setting the stage for a good story.
It wasn't like
she wasn't in any real danger for any longer than
no, because we do always make sure that somebody has their eyes on our kids.
But like, yeah, she almost drowned right next to me.
Yeah, super scary. Funny now, not funny then.
No. What's next?
The cacaw thing, I kind of think is a fail in the sense that it's a win for you, a fail for me. So I was shopping for clothes. And Ben was trying to keep the girls occupied and, like, making it fun. So Ben was doing this thing where he'd be like, caw, and then the kids would do, like, funny things like salute. They
would run. I told the kids, I was like, if you ever hear me, this was like a safety measure. Like, I was like, if you ever hear me go, caw, you run to me and you salute.
The salute
and
was
that was so if I ever, like, didn't know where they went for 1 second, I could be like, caw, and they knew that they had to find me and run to me.
Right.
And Kinsley did not get that.
No, she super understood it.
But she did it in the wrong way.
Yeah. So Kailyn knew that meant, like, in case we got separated by accident. Like, I went one way around a clothes rack and she went the other way and got lost. That she could listen to our caw, kind of like, what's the pool game there? Marco Polo. Kind of like that.
It's like that.
But it's like our thing, so she knows it's us calling for her, basically. Kinsley took that as, Kailyn is 5, Kinsley is 2. And Kinsley is brave, Kailyn is not so much. Kinsley took that as, well, I got the whole run of Old Navy because...
As long as I could caw.
Right, as long as I could caw, and if Ben could caw, I run to him, and all of a sudden, I just see her dart, and she, like, turned a corner, and I was like, Kinsley May!
And she
just starts running back to me, caw! And I'm like, Kinsley!
Yeah. She thought she could roam the whole store as long as she could caw.
Yeah, and I just, like, looked at Ben like, no. Not happening. This cannot happen.
Meanwhile, Kailyn was standing next to me like this, just saluting.
Kailyn was like, I'm ready. Yeah. And I'm over here like, no, Ben, you need to hold on to Kinsley. There is no caw code for her because she will just run. And that's what she did. And she thought if she was just all smiles, caw. Horrible.
What other fails we got?
Coffee. So Kinsley, all little girls and boys, I think, like to pretend to make mom coffee and tea. Well, I drink real coffee, and Kailyn knows it. She helps Ben make me coffee every single morning.
Kinsley does.
Kinsley does, sorry. And Kinsley really wants to try my coffee. Like every day, Mommy, I have some, all the time.
Like, no.
And one day she wouldn't let it go. Like I kept saying, no, Kinsley, you can't have coffee. It's not good for you. And most of the time that kind of thing works. Like if I say, no, if I'm drinking like a glass of wine, I could say, no, this is mommy juice. It's not good for you. You can't have it. They let it go. This particular day, she would not let go coffee. So finally I go, okay, fine. You want to have some coffee? I'll give you coffee. I'm thinking, oh, I've got this in the bag. I'm so smart. She's going to have one sip of this black coffee and think it's nasty. And then she's going to get over it and never ask for it again. So I get her a small cup of all black coffee. No judgment, please, because I really thought she was going to take a sip and be like, ew.
Yeah, right.
No, this girl takes one sip and she goes,
yum.
And she just takes another sip and another sip. And finally I have to take it from her because she's like about to gulp down this cup of warm, like it wasn't hot to the burning point, but it was fresh coffee. And she liked it. Mm-hmm. So I call that a parenting fail because...
Which is weird because I don't like coffee.
And a lot of people don't like black coffee, but Kinsley, my 2-year-old, apparently does. So now when I have coffee, I have to keep my cup out of her reach because she fiends for it. Mm-hmm. Like she knows if I'm not looking, like if I'm washing dishes and I have my coffee on the table to have on my little breaks, she will sit there and sneak sips. I've caught her doing it. So me letting her have tastes.
Next thing you know, she's like, I want to play with all of my toys right now at the same time. Yeah.
I'll help you clean the whole house, Mom. So not as dramatic as some of our other ones, but that was one of those things where I really thought like, oh, I'm going to make her this black coffee and then she's going to leave me alone. And now instead it's created like an addiction.
Yeah, don't do that because I did the same thing with Kailyn, who's 5, with a sip of beer. Yeah. She wanted to try a beer. We were at the Legion having wings with your family, and she wanted a sip of beer, so I gave her a little sip of beer because she asked me like 4 times.
I gave her a little sip, thinking like,
you're going to think this is gross because when I was a kid, I had a sip of my dad's beer, and it was nasty.
Yeah.
And she took one sip and went, yum, and got that like look in her eye like, this is my new favorite drink. And I'm like, oh, God.
And then we were like, never again.
Yeah, I was like, that's it. No more.
Ben got in trouble for that one. Oh, here's a good one. So Kailyn is in kindergarten, and we have to send her a snack and a water bottle every day.
Oh, yeah.
So we do, religiously. And
she gets a snack, a water bottle, and sometimes a packed lunch every day.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, most of the time we make her, I hate to say it like that, we make her buy lunch because at kindergarten, in the beginning of the year, she had to bring a blanket, snack, water bottle, an extra set of clothes in case she had an accident. And then to have her pack her lunch on top of that, her backpack was so full, she couldn't carry it.
Yeah, it was way too heavy for her. And if you put an apple, a sandwich, and a juice box in a lunch box, that adds up.
Yeah.
On top of it.
So
everything.
It was just too much. So anyway, we're supposed to we do have to pack an afternoon snack and a water bottle. And
afternoon snack meaning like a small bag of Cheez-Its or Cheerios or.
And there's all these like restrictions, like it can't have any nuts in it, it can't have peanut butter in it, it can't have gummies in it. So her snacks are kind of limited to what they can be. And I try to make it, because at the beginning of the year, the teacher said that they were preferably to be healthier snacks. Like instead of a bag of chips, you do crackers, whatever. So I took that very seriously. So like we did goldfish or sometimes cereal. I let her do like a little bag of miniature cookies a couple times just to change it up. But I was letting her kind of pick to try to keep it interesting. Well,
we did grapes before. She wanted grapes.
We did do grapes one time. And, well, finally, her aunt, who puts her on and off the bus for us, realized one day that, like, she hadn't eaten her afternoon snack that had been sent in her backpack between me sending it with him and then her dad on his days sending snack with her. Like, her snack was always still in her backpack, like, not touched.
She's like, what's going on here? Are you not eating snack?
And then finally, Kailyn came clean that here she's been telling her teacher that we, her parents, have been forgetting to pack her snack and water every day.
Every day. We forgot to pack her a snack.
For like weeks. Like this went on for weeks. And like I'll admit, I forgot to pack snack one day in the beginning of the year. And I got it. That's
probably the day she realized that she could ask somebody else for a snack.
If when I forgot the snack, she had asked her she told her teacher, like, Mommy forgot to pack me a snack, so her teacher had like stored snacks.
Which were
only for when your parents forgot.
But
and
they were. So go ahead.
And I got a note sent home in her folder, like, please remember to pack a snack every day and a water bottle. Like, I got reminded.
Mm-hmm.
And this probably happened twice the entire year between me and her dad. Like I think we each forgot a snack one time.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so fast forward until recent weeks, and we find out that Kailyn remembered that her teacher had way better snacks,
which were cheese puffs.
Yeah.
We won't say her name.
Yeah.
Mrs. Teacher had cheese puffs, and Kailyn had figured out
which, by the way,
cheese puffs were better than her snack, she could just say that we forgot to pack her a snack.
Yeah, which cheese puffs are not healthy.
They're not, but like Mrs. Teacher probably doesn't like hand out snacks all the time. That's probably just what she had. They were probably reward treats.
Probably, very true. So anyway, Kailyn was like, yo, these cheese curls, or whatever you call them, cheese puffs, way better than my goldfish, way better than my Belvita blueberry crackers that I picked out at the grocery store the other day, way better than whatever. We packed Cheerios, special case cereal. We were sending Teddy Grahams. Regardless, cheese puffs are her vice. And to the point where sweet, innocent little Kailyn lied to her teacher every day
for a long time.
And they finally I guess they realized, like, all right, these parents are not sending her snack, so we're not even going to put these notes in the folder. Or my heart is hoping that the teacher realized that we were sending snack and that Kailyn just really wanted cheese puffs. But I don't know if they would do that, because I feel like they would teach them, like, no, you have to eat what you brought. But I don't know.
Yeah. Who's to know?
Regardless, this happened. We told her about, like, we had a conversation with her about lying, and, it doesn't make Mommy, Ben, her dad, her Aunt Ashley, because she lives with her Aunt Ashley when she stays with her dad half the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that makes us all look like we don't take care of you, and that we're not following the rules, and, it's just not good to lie, because then people won't believe you. And we have this conversation. 2 days later, her snack's in her backpack. She comes home and she did it again. And she like craves those cheese puffs. So finally I told her, we had to kind of give her like the rundown of the boy who cried wolf. Because we're like, someday, like, you're gonna need something, and no one's gonna believe you because you just keep lying. Like, we had to kind of blow it out of proportion because she thought it was funny, and it kind of is funny.
I get cheese puffs.
Yeah, it kind of is funny. Like, if you think about it, it's quite resourceful.
You can't be mad at her for being smart, but you can be mad at her for lying.
Right. So that's definitely.
It takes intelligence to lie. At least at the age of 5.
Yeah. So. Kudos to her for that, I guess.
She's very resourceful.
But I would call that a parenting fail for sure. Just a couple other minor ones. I scheduled a showing one day too close to parent-teacher conference, and I left myself just enough time to get from the showing to the conference, and wouldn't you know, there was an accident on the interstate, and I missed parent-teacher conference. My heart was in my stomach that day. I felt quite low.
But those things happen. Like, I feel like nobody's immune to stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, I can't feed my kids if I don't get paid. You know what I mean? Like, if we don't make money, we can't provide shelter, and we can't provide food. So it's just a very hard... I
bet you a lot of parents deal with that. Like, oh, I have to work today to... put food on the table. We can barely pay the bills, blah, blah, blah. But, my junior has a baseball game, and I can't go.
Yeah.
Because I have to work. But junior's not going to understand.
Right. Right.
That's a whole, that's an issue right there in itself. A lot of parents give a lot to just make sure that they can make ends meet. And sometimes it is almost necessary to sacrifice a little bit of family time to make sure that happens, which sucks.
It does.
But it's that's a harsh reality.
It's like a brick in your stomach when that happens. I know you've had to miss a couple things because you had shows. Yeah. And it's like, it's hard on everyone. Like, we know that you have to do it. It's hard on me,
and I'm not biologically their father.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I've definitely, I've done that. I have sent Kailyn an address forgetting that it was field day.
address and flip-flops.
And flip-flops.
On field day.
On field day. Yep, that's me. I put everything in my calendar to the point that if I forget to put it in my calendar, it doesn't exist. It does not happen. I don't remember it. My brain does a brain dump. And I forgot to put what happened is there was field day. I sent her totally 110% prepared. Field day got rescheduled because it rained.
And we forgot to put
I forgot to put the rescheduled field day in my calendar.
I bet you $1 there was a lot of other kids that showed up unprepared for field day that day.
Luckily, again, she gets on the bus at her aunt's house.
Yeah.
Her aunt had another set of clothes that she could change into. So aunt saved the day, which thank goodness for that, and thank goodness that we all have that relationship where, she takes care of Kailyn and Kinsley like they were her own kids. I will give her that. Another kind of big one. So we sleep trained the kids, which is a parenting win.
That was a huge win because it was a very long, drawn-out, painstaking process.
It was like a 2-week... I would say it was about 2 hard weeks. Mm-hmm. Because we have 50-50 with their father. So it's not like you have this whole week of consistency. Like, they have consistency for a couple days, and they go to their dad's, and they come back to our house for a couple days. And... So it took a couple weeks to sleep train them. Mm-hmm. However,
well, for those of you who don't know, sleep training is essentially a term that means you get your kid to go to bed on time without a conniption, without a hissy fit, without them crying all night, without them being afraid of the dark. Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
They sleep in their own bed. They go to bed at bedtime.
Yeah.
No questions asked. I love you, kisses, bedtime story, good night. Peace out. I'll see you in the morning.
Which now is a breeze.
Yeah.
Pretty much a breeze.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, the fail, this is kind of funny. So, those 2 weeks were, like we said, rough. The first night, or maybe even the second night, I can't remember. It was really bad. I mean, screaming. Tears.
For
door slamming.
Hours. Like, to the point where you're confused because you're like, I couldn't scream that loud for that long if I tried. Like, my head would explode. Mm-hmm. But the girls were both just relentlessly screaming on a supernatural level. Like, it was not.
And they share a room. Like, they share a room.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're alone. But if one's ready to fall asleep and the other one isn't, they're both up. And when one starts crying, the other one would start crying. And it was just very ugly for those 2 weeks. And finally, I said this partly out of truth because we live in a condo. So we have a condo below us, a condo behind us, and a condo, if you're looking at our condo, to the right of us. So we're surrounded by 3 other condos.
Yeah.
And Kailyn was screaming very loudly.
For hours.
And it was just getting louder and louder, and like the fit was getting worse. Look at my
face. This is my face when I think about that day.
It was draining.
For those of you who are listening, it's just a blank, stare at the wall, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was a terrible night.
I remember being worried that Ben
Such
might
a sweet
leave.
little girl, too.
Because this was in the beginning of when Ben moved in. So there's all these changes going on in their life. Like, Ben moved in, and we weren't living at my parents' house anymore. And
My camera just died.
it did.
It did. For those of you listening, this is your 5 minutes with Brittany, or 2 minutes, 1 minute with Brittany, while I fix the camera.
So anyway, should I just continue?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I finally said to Kailyn, through all this crying, I said, Kailyn, you have got to stop yelling or the cops are going to come. Like, it is, I think at this point it was 11 o'clock at night. It was late. Very late. And I was actually to the point where I was concerned. Did you fix it? Or?
Yeah, we're recording.
Oh,
I think. Yeah.
Okay. So I was actually concerned that, like, maybe one of our neighbors would call the cops. Like, she was so loud and it was so late at night, and I had it mentally. Ben had it mentally. It was very exhausting, and I finally said to her, like, the cops are going to come if you don't stop.
Yeah, because, like, she was thumping, slamming her feet,
Yes.
her body on the ground, like, to the point where, like, our neighbors below us literally could have thought we were, like, hurting her.
Yeah.
And,
It was,
and like, they could have, it was not out of the question.
she was
for
just
them to call the
flailing
police.
in her bedroom for no reason. It was very weird. But I guess it's kind of a normal thing in this now that I've read about it and heard about it, like, it is very normal. But it was, at the time, it did not feel normal, and it felt horrible. So I threatened the cops, and she stopped. She stopped. I remember that first night she stopped. She went to bed, like, I don't want the cops to come. Well,
This is where
here's
the fail lies.
Here's where the fail lies. So we thought that was a win. Oh, it was a temporary win. Next night, same thing. Screaming, kicking, I don't want to go to bed, blah, blah, blah. Mind you, these girls have to be up at 6 a.m. Because they have to be at their aunt's house at 7 to get on the bus on time and for Ben and I to start our day. I have to be at the office as a requirement by 8:30. So anyway, we have to have a bedtime because they do have to get up super early. And if they don't get the proper amount of sleep, they're bears in the morning. Like, it's horrible getting them up.
Yeah.
So this is
don't listen.
truly a necessary thing that we're doing to make sure that they get the amount of hours of sleep, which still technically they're not getting, but the amount of hours that they can possibly get. So
They
anyway,
need like 17 hours a night.
they're
It's
supposed
ridiculous
to have
how much-
13 at their age. They're supposed to have 13 hours.
13 hours at 5 and 2?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Well,
That's
you witness it
crazy.
every morning. Kailyn still has a hard time getting up with the bedtime.
Yeah, that's funny.
But anyway, back to the story. So next night, same horrible stuff. So I finally go, okay, fine. I'm going to threaten the cops again.
Like, Kailyn, if you don't go to sleep, the cops might come.
It didn't work well this time.
No. It incited
Straight up fear.
week-long anxiety.
No, it was like weeks.
More than a week? I thought it was, like, really intense
Well,
for a
this
week.
this particular night, she would not go to sleep because it was constantly, are the cops gonna come? I don't want the cops to come. And we would finally get her to relax, and she would start to fall asleep, or so we thought. And we'd be in bed, and I would be in bed about to fall asleep finally, and then she would come in. Are the cops gonna come? Did you call the cops and tell them not to come?
Multiple times a night, just coming into the room.
Horrible. So that went on
Which
for a while.
means she's laying in bed just thinking, like, oh, are they?
Yeah,
Are they coming?
Are they coming?
Oh my god.
And
I'm
okay,
gonna get up and ask.
this is bad for some parent fail for several reasons. A, I don't want her to be afraid of cops.
No.
Cops are
It's bad.
not bad people. Cops are great people, and what I should be teaching her is all the good they do for the community.
Yeah, cops are here to protect us, not hurt us, and
Right.
we made her feel like
And not take our
cops
kids
were
away.
Like
They don't come take kids away from families just because you don't go to bed at night. And then B, it was bad because it truly, like, it instilled the bad type of fear. Like, there's, like, the mom fear where, like, I can give them the mom look. That fear, and they, like, quit acting up in public. That's a good mom fear. Bad mom fear is, like, when they're waking you up every 15 minutes because they think the cops are coming. So then that triggered like all these other little fears. So like for a couple weeks it'd be like, are the cops gonna come? No, Kailyn, the cops aren't coming.
Then the toilet paper ran out.
Is the toilet paper gonna run out?
Yeah, so we replaced the toilet paper. She's like, there's no toilet paper in the bathroom. And this was at 9 o'clock at night after they had been in bed. And then every day for weeks after that, she's like, are the cops coming? No. Is the toilet paper gonna run out? No. Are you gonna shut the door? No.
Are you gonna leave?
Yeah.
No. We never left. We have never left you here.
Are you going to bed at the same time as us?
Oh, that was good.
She would cling to these little things. Mm-hmm. Like cling to them for weeks. Like it was for a couple weeks after that, it was like she had a list. Mm-hmm. When she goes to bed, she would like reach under her pillow, hypothetically, and grab this list and be like, okay, are the police coming? No. Check. Is the toilet paper going to run out? No. Check. Are you going to the bed at the same time as me? Check. Are you... we, for a lot of times we lied and said yeah. But really, we would just go to bed.
Really, we would come to the living room. But anyway.
What was the other one? There was more.
Are you going to leave the house?
Are you going to leave the house?
Shut the door.
Are you going to shut the door?
Which is our bedroom door.
Yeah.
Because they don't like our bedroom door to be shut. Which, I get that. That's fine.
After a while, I sat her down and I was like, Kailyn, you ask me the same questions every single night and the answer is the same every single night. Don't you think it's time to stop asking those questions and just know that you're safe and that you're fine and you will not be any more safe than you are right here in this bed and it's okay to go to sleep? And then she still says that today.
Every night before bed we do the kisses, the tucking in.
Shorten that rap sheet, that list to, and now every night when we put her to bed, all she says is, "I know I'm safe."
And then Kinsley says it now too. She goes, "I'm safe."
Yep.
Pulls her blanket up.
and then it's just like hugs and kisses, and it's just good night, girls. Bedtime is a breeze now.
Yeah. So parent fail to parent win, all in one.
Well, we just righted the wrong.
But we had a hard fail.
That was a long fail. I didn't realize how long that fail really bit us. That bit us in the butt for a long, long, long time.
And I feel like I guess I should have known better because I have anxiety, and Kailyn definitely has traits of having a little bit of anxiety, and I have her set up, like she goes to the guidance counselor at school, and she's been doing a lot better with it since then. And just, she had a lot of major changes in her life all at once, so it makes sense. And then the cop card saved me one day, and I thought it would save me several other days. Not the truth, so don't use it, folks. Don't
ever threaten your child with police.
And then, when I got pulled over one day with her in the car, she immediately started crying, and I finally told her, listen, Mommy was speeding. I was doing the wrong thing. The cop pulled me over to protect me because he's going to write me this ticket, and I'm going to remember no more speeding. And that's going to help keep us safe. And I, went into this whole thing about why they do what they do, and it's to keep us safe. And I actually didn't get a ticket, but that's a whole nother story. But
yeah, you got pulled over for going 35 and a 25. It was kind of...
I was doing 45 and a 25. Oh. But I had...
With a child in the car? What were you thinking? I'm just kidding. I just know that so if our podcast does well, somebody's going to say that.
It's at one of those streets that you think it's a 35. Yeah, you don't...
You were not driving recklessly.
No.
You were just going...
I thought I was...
You thought you were doing the speed limit.
I thought I was not that far off anyway. That was a good one.
Yeah. What else?
Oh, I remember, I feel like every parent can relate. Every parent can relate to this, unless, if you're not having sex with your spouse, that's a whole nother level of issues.
I know where you're going with this one.
Which is, another podcast. Ben and I do not lack in that department, to say the least. But
what she's trying to say is we bang a lot. Let's hope your parents don't ever watch this.
My mom does, but it's cool. I'm really close with my mom, so it's fine.
I'll have to edit that part out.
No, it's fine. When Ben first moved in, though, I thought I had a rule where no sleeping together when the kids are home. We quickly broke that rule, and we're normally really sneaky about it. But anyway, apparently one night, not so sneaky. I think something hit the wall.
There's only a little thin, dry wall in between where our heads lie and where the girls' heads lie. There's just one wall in between the bedrooms.
A bang occurred.
And yeah, if you touch the wall like this,
it's super
like,
loud.
Boom! Like, it's so loud and it echoes.
Yeah.
So if, something like that happened, both the girls are shooting out of bed like, what? What was that?
Yeah.
I better go find out. And we're doing our thing, we don't really notice that happened. And needless to say, I'm pretty sure this has happened to every couple ever that's ever had kids. The kid ends up walking in on you when you're doing sexual things.
Relations.
When you're having relations. And
Luckily,
I just remember...
We were under a blanket.
We were under a blanket, but like, we were in there. We were engaged.
You were in there.
Yeah, we were engaged. And I am staring 2 feet from me into the eyes of a 5-year-old child. That is quite humbling.
And we're just snuggling. Go back to sleep. I'll come in and tuck you in a minute. Okay.
Yeah, and they don't get it. Like, they don't know what you're doing.
Well, fast forward next day. Kids in the car. And normally Ben comes with me to bring the kids to the bus stop, but I think he had to leave early that day, or he had band practice that day, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. He didn't come that morning. And on the way there, all of a sudden, it's like silent in the car. We're tired. I'm drinking my to-go coffee that Ben made me.
Kinsley and Kailyn are looking at each other like, did you hear that? Did you see? What? That was kind of weird. We should ask her about it. Let's ask her.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden Kinsley goes, Mommy, what game were you and Ben playing last night? And I'm like, what? What do you mean,
the best game ever!
And I won.
But yeah, what did you say to her? What'd she ask that?
Oh, I just said that, I go, oh, Ben was just silly, and when he went to lay down, he bumped his head on the wall.
Oh, yeah. And then when we got home that night... Because we don't
have a headboard. Because we don't have a headboard, so I thought that was pretty believable.
Yeah, and when we got home that night, they were like, how did you do that? How did you hit your head? And I had to reenact a fake way of me getting into bed and hitting my head. So, like, there's a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old watching me, like, purposely bang my head off the wall in our bedroom to try to, like, just get rid of the idea that we were having sex. The things you do. What are you going to do?
Oh, my Lanta.
I don't know. That's, yeah. If you are... a couple, right, and you haven't had your children walk in on you,
you're not doing it enough.
You're not doing either that or it's coming. You are not immune. It will happen.
Mm-hmm. You think they're in the dead asleep.
Yep. The next thing you know, and like sometimes you don't know how long they've been standing there. Like, let's be honest, it's happened to us more than once. You don't know how long they've been standing there. Because, like, remember how we said earlier, Kaylyn's like, are you going to shut the door? Like, we have to leave the doors open because they have, that's a battle we choose to forfeit.
If they
so
leave
they're happy,
their bedroom to go to the bathroom, because we have 2 bathrooms, Ben and I have our own bathroom, and then they have a bathroom across the hall from their bedroom. To get to that bathroom, they can easily look to the right and see if our bedroom door is open or closed.
And if it's closed, they panic.
It's a meltdown. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, so that we chose to just give them that battle. We'll keep the doors open. And there was one time when we were under the covers doing our thing, and and I just hear, Mommy, and I look up and Kailyn is like next to the bed, which means
Kinsley. It's Kinsley. Kailyn hardly has come. It's always Kinsley.
But she's like next to the bed, and she's only as tall as the bed, so all I see are eyes. Like, I see the top of her head and her eyes looking at me, and she's like a foot from me. And that means she had to walk in and take like 7 more steps to the bed.
Yeah.
And, God knows how long it took her to do that. She's 2. So, like, she could have been moseying in, or she could have ran in. We don't know. I don't know how long she was standing there at the end of the bed, just like... You just don't know. Mm-hmm. She could have been there for a minute. She could have been there for 2 seconds. When all you hear is "mommy," and then you see,
and
like she's Batman or something.
We had just watched what comedy special did we just watch on Netflix, and he talked about it.
Kevin Hart.
And then like 2 days later, it's Kinsley going, "Mommy, what game were you at Ben playing last night?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!"
And you're like,
he was so
you're like,
right.
How do you play it off? How do you play it off? If you're doing it doggy style, you can't play it off. You just gotta go. The best you can do is hike the ball, baby, hike the ball. And then it's like,
we're playing the Joneses next
get out of here. We're playing the Joneses down the street next week. Get out of here. We're just practicing.
And the best I could come up with is Ben banged his head on the wall.
Yeah.
A couple times.
I'm not ashamed to talk about that at all because when I was a kid, I walked in on my parents. Not a fun time, but I was old enough to know what was happening.
Yeah, that happened to me.
I don't know how many times I walked in on when I was 5.
I walked in on my parents as an adult. It was I was mortified. Let's not even talk about that.
Okay,
Moving
yeah,
on.
New pod. We'll do a whole nother podcast on that one, baby. How about that? Things that make you go buh.
Wrong way.
All right, what's the next parenting fail?
I feel like every parent goes through this. I remember when the girls first started eating solid food. They ate it all. Carrots, peas. I mean, if you could mash it up so they could eat it, they ate it. It didn't matter. Now, all they want is not homemade mac and cheese. That's nasty. They want Kraft mac and cheese out of the box. Hot dogs, peanut butter and jelly, or breakfast for dinner.
You could put
Those are the 4 things that our kids will eat.
Yep, you could put a lobster tail dinner made by Gordon Ramsay in front of them, and they would be like, "What is this bullshit?"
Yeah.
I don't want this.
If they cursed.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later.
I swear, like if kids knew how to curse, it would be so funny because they would do it.
I mean, Kinsley has by accident. Well, anyway.
Yeah. But
so the point is Ben and I try to make mainly healthier meals throughout the week, and then we have like one night where we do pizza, and then like a leftover night or like a finger food night or something. But we try to do like a protein and a vegetable, and we try to make it fun. Like sometimes we do like chicken stir fry with veggies, or anyway, 9 times out of 10 the kids won't eat it.
No.
It could be the best tasting thing I've ever made, and they won't eat it.
We make 2 dinners. It's not even like 2 dinners. It's like a dinner, a proper dinner, and then, whatever we know the girls will eat, in case they don't eat whatever proper dinner we make. So if we make a nice, like, chicken stir fry with peppers and onions and chicken and broccoli.
And carrots.
Sometimes, on a good day, the girls will be intrigued, and they'll be like, "Let me try that." And they'll like it, and they'll eat it. Most times, they're like, the 5-year-olds and 2-year-olds eat with their eyes. They look at it, they decide they don't like it before they even try it or smell it. And you're just like, "Word, that's fine, because we got our backup plan, hot dogs."
Yep.
Hot dogs have never, ever, ever failed.
Nope.
Ever.
Nope, never.
They would eat hot dogs every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Hot or cold.
If they could. Hot or cold.
Bun or no bun.
Nope. So, like, we have
plain or with condiments.
177 pack of hot dogs in the fridge right now.
Truly. We do, if you've watched our podcast before, we do Peapod grocery delivery, and we order the biggest pack of hot dogs that they sell at a time, because we go through so much of it. And I feel guilty in the sense that, like, hot dogs are not the healthiest thing.
No,
but
it's...
we cannot get them to eat. And I've had people be like, "Oh, well, just put what you make for dinner in the fridge. When they get hungry later, they'll eat." Bullshit. No, they won't.
They don't.
I cannot force my kids to chew it and swallow it. Like, they would go hungry. They would. They would.
And
they would
if it's
go
one
hungry.
of the things like where it's like sleep training, like the kid has to go to sleep in their own bed. That took a long time, and I just wasn't sure we were ready to do that with food.
Yeah.
So
I feel like
don't get me wrong. We don't just like say, "Do you like that? Do you want to eat this?" And they're like, "No," and then we give them hot dogs. We always make them a plate, put it in front of them, tell them they have to eat it, and then if they just don't, And then they get up from dinner. Ben and mommy eat. And then when they say they're hungry, they get a hot dog.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because, like, what else are you going to do? If anybody has advice for us, please let us know. Because eating is a very, very, very difficult thing for us.
I don't want the advice to be to put it in the fridge because they'll eat it later, because they won't.
Yeah, that's bullshit advice. If you're going to comment that, save it.
I don't know. I'm just saying, we've tried it.
Yeah.
I've tried it. It just doesn't work. And I do get guilt. Like, I don't want them to go to sleep on an empty stomach. Because my girls are skinny as it is. Like, they're skinny little girls.
You also don't want to force feed certain foods to children, because then people say you kind of deprive them from enjoying it as an adult.
Right.
You know, so like, if like, I didn't eat chicken stir fry when I was a kid, but I love that shit now. And I don't want that for them. I don't want them to be like, my mom and dad used to make this for me, and they would. That's all. I had no choice. They just made me eat it, and I hated it. It was not my thing, and now every time I hear that word, I lose my appetite. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah, it's definitely it's hard. That's definitely something that we're still struggling with. If you do have advice, even if it is a refrigerator thing, I'll hear it out. But give me a story with it. Like, I want to hear, like, don't tell me to put the food in the fridge and then eat it later. Like, I need to hear a success story.
Yeah.
With the advice.
With a beginning, middle, and an end.
Please. And I want to know a time frame.
Yeah.
Like, if I know it'll work in 3 days, I'll do it.
We need an essay.
Yeah.
Full essay. MLA.
Case study. I want a case study. Times New Roman, 12-point font.
We can 11-point font. It was going towards 11-point font when I was in college. College is dumb. Anyway, that's another podcast. I'm with you on that. Yeah, I think a lot of people are.
I like Mike Rowe. I like his thinking on that. Moving on.
Next parent fail.
And then should we go to wins soon? I feel like we need to.
Yeah, we've had parenting wins. We've been doing nothing but talking about the bad. Don't think that we're terrible parents. Yeah. We're just not afraid to tell you about the nitty-gritty.
And there's been stuff like where I thought my kids could, I always bought Crayola paint. And, like, some of them are minor as that. Like, I would buy Crayola paint because it was super washable. I don't know what Crayola did to their formula. Not washable anymore. Parenting fail. Ruined brand new outfits that the girls had. Yeah, because a year ago...
Right there, I'm not going to show you, but there's white and red paint on our couch.
Yeah, there's white and because it used to be so washable. Like, you could have them in all white. They'd get the Crayola paint all over them, wash it, it would come out. You wouldn't even know. And now, not the case. I don't know what Crayola did. I don't like it. But it has created parenting fails for me. It cost us money.
You go, baby. You go. Go ahead. Continue. I'm listening.
Other parenting fails, like I'll be writing an offer, and I think that the kids are set up safely doing things, and the next thing you know, Kinsley cut up all of our checks to the IRS.
Oh, that was a great fail.
Yeah. So
we took our eyes off Kinsley and Kailyn for 5 minutes,
and we were working.
I was editing videos, and Brittany had to write an offer. Mm-hmm. So you did stations.
Yep,
you set them up with, like, a coloring station,
a Lego station,
and they were like, "Oh my God, we get to rotate and do all this stuff."
Reading station,
like,
they had a Play-Doh station. Yeah, they had it all.
We were like, "Give us 20 minutes," and then, oh man, that was so funny. It's so funny now, but you were so mad. We had our checks, our big checks, written out to the IRS to mail in, and Kinsley had cut those things up with kid scissors so bad.
Not just to the IRS people. We are self-employed, so we have to send in checks to local government, state, and federal, and we're not married, so we have joint filing. And we both lived in 2 different townships in 2018.
Yeah, so we had 77 checks.
So anyway, 10
and Kinsley cut up 3 of them.
I had 10 checks that I had to write out that day from. Some from Ben's account, some from mine account, but I wrote out all the checks, addressed all the envelopes, put stamps on every single one of them, and it took time. And I had to, I tracked the check numbers in the checkbooks. I wrote the check numbers on our tax stuff, so I knew, like, if something ever came back, I'd be like, nope, yep, we paid 2018 state taxes with check number 129, right? So everything was documented. And everything was perfectly enveloped and stamped, and I had all of them in my purse because the next day I was going to take them to the post office because I didn't want to just put them in any mailbox. I wanted to make sure they were at the post office.
So you felt comfortable that they were getting to where they were going.
Right. And because I didn't want, it was our first year.
Taxes are stressful.
Both of us being self-employed, I did not want to F it up. I didn't want to mess it up. Mm-hmm. They were good all day. The kids were awesome all effing day with those stations. They did phenomenal. There was a couple times I had to get them like snacks or whatever, but they did great. Finally, I have to do something that really requires attention, finding an offer. I got to make sure I'm doing everything right because one mess up, I can cost someone thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, Kinsley realizes, and I am deep in thought, I'm staring at my laptop, I haven't looked up in 5 minutes, I'm on the phone, like I'm cranking, I'm working.
And she knows she's not allowed to get in your purse.
And she knows mommy's purse is off limits. Next thing you know, I look up and there is cut up envelopes all over my living room floor. And there's Kinsley with scissors, like, look, mommy, I got scissors. Don't know where she got the scissors from.
Well, she has those kid scissors.
Yeah, but I don't think I put them in her reach. I think she had to climb for them.
Oh.
Or Kailyn had them and left them.
That's probably what happened. Kailyn was doing something, and Kinsley was like, "Well, big sister's doing that, so as soon as she puts it down, guess who's getting it?
Well,
me."
Regardless.
Kid scissors, people, not giant.
Yeah, they were like the little, and those kid scissors though could cut through several pieces of paper, an envelope, and a check.
Yeah.
But it was our biggest check to the IRS.
Our two biggest checks.
It was our two biggest checks to the IRS. It was our federal taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And there I sat, because I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to call our accountant. We already gave our accountant kind of a hard time, like, with our state taxes, or our federal taxes, I mean. So I didn't want to call him for, like, more coupons that, like, outlined what we had to send this coupon in with our check to show, like, our tax filing number and all this stuff, because he filed them electronically for us, but then we had to send in the check with this coupon. And I was so embarrassed, like, oh my gosh, Chris spent so many hours on this the day before taxes were due. Like, he did this for us on a Saturday, and taxes were due on Sunday, so technically Monday. I was like, I am not calling him and asking him for more coupons. So there I sat at the dining room table with tape.
You pieced them back together?
I pieced it back together like a puzzle. Yeah. And Kinsley is she was never allowed in my purse, but she's super not allowed in my purse.
She knows for a fact now.
Yeah. We do not take things out of mommy's purse.
You instilled mom fear into her.
Mom fear happened.
You can give her if she's near your purse and you give her the look, she's
yeah.
Right, you got it, Mom. I'm backing up.
She got a good talking to, a timeout in her bed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is there any more parenting fails?
No, I think the only other one I had on here was I don't curse a lot. For those of you, I say F instead of the F word. I say heckers instead of the
But if you
alternative.
ever now and then let one slip, they're like, that's a new word I never heard. I want to say it.
Yep. Well, I thought for sure it was going to be Ben, because Ben curses like a sailor. And I thought for sure that it was going to be Ben's fault that the girls knew how to curse. Nope. One day.
No, they know how to exclaim, I tooted when they fart.
Yeah,
that's
because of Ben.
That's what they learned from me.
Well, I'm in the kitchen.
You don't say excuse me, you say I tooted.
I think I was cooking dinner. Something fell on the floor, and I go, oh shit.
Kinsley just goes, oh shit!
And I just look, and Ben gave me this look like,
it was
you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, me?
Yeah.
I say F.
Yeah.
I say F.
Kinsley goes, oh shit, and Brittany and I start laughing. So she's like, oh, that appeased the tall people. Huh. Oh shit. And she just keeps saying it, and we're just losing it, and we're just like, stop it, ha ha ha, oh my god, stop it, you can't say that, ha ha ha, it's so funny though,
It was cute.
But yeah, she's just like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. But yeah, cursing. Oh yeah, your kid's gonna curse.
Yeah.
I got caught cursing on the answer machine by accident.
Yeah, I remember that story. But wins. Let's talk about wins.
Yeah. Well, the first win was the sleep training thing. Mm-hmm. Before the police thing happened, when we actually hunkered down and decided to sleep train the kids, and it was not easy. You sleep training involves a lot of unanswered crying, right? Mm-hmm. So you just like let them cry for 45 straight minutes, and you sit there and you're like, oh my god.
The real win with that.
You feel really bad about not going and tending to them, but like that's what does it.
The real win was you started it, and then we both started it. Was we finally told them, when you cry,
Mommy doesn't
just
come.
because you want someone to lay with you, or when you cry, for something that's not like a safety concern, Mommy doesn't come. We only come in the morning, or if there's something urgent that you need. And they understood what that meant.
Yeah.
And they finally realized, like, okay, now if they're sick and they have fevers, that's a whole nother level.
Yeah, you have to say urgent too, because we said, if you need something, you let us know. And then Kailyn was coming into the bedroom going, "Can I ask you a question?" Mm-hmm. And then you'd be like, "What's your question?" And she would stand there for a whole minute and try to think of something to ask you. Like, really, she just wanted attention. Mm-hmm. So you had to be like, unless you need to pee or are dying, or you need something urgent,
something serious,
you have to go to bed.
Yep. And I will tell you, it's still hard for Kailyn to wake up. Their bedtime is at 7:30, which seems early. But again, they have to get up at 6. And Kailyn, on a weekend, we even still make them go to bed pretty much on time on the weekends, unless we're like out doing something. But most of the time, they still go to bed at 7:30, and she could sleep in until 9. Mm-hmm. Easy. So no judgment there, but it's just they need it. They need to go to sleep, and if we let them stay up past then, it's horrible in the morning.
Yeah.
Like fits, because they're tired and they're not easy to deal with. But some wins I think would be definitely sleep training. I would think the bunk beds, when we finally got them bunk beds, that was a win, because they share a room, and with sharing a room, it's not a small room, but when you put 2 beds in it, it makes it small.
Yeah.
And they used to
take
not
up a lot of surface area with beds.
Yeah, they used to not have a lot of room to play, so Kailyn would constantly lock Kinsley out of the room so she could have her space. Mm-hmm. So that would cause fights. Well, finally, Ben and I got the girls' bunk beds. Ben put them together very well for me one night, and it's been a breeze ever since. Bedtime has been even easier after the sleep training because they were so excited to go on their beds. Mm-hmm. There's been no fighting over top bunk versus bottom bunk. Kailyn has no longer locked Kinsley out of the room, because if she needs her space, she just goes to the top bunk where she sleeps.
Yep.
And her space is her bed, and Kinsley's space is her bed, and it's completely that level of separation has solved all the issues, and they have so much more room for activities.
I'm sure that there's going to be a time when Kinsley, who is 2, attempts to climb to the top bunk by herself, and there's an accident. That's our fear. I'm sure that's something like that may happen. Like, because you can't, when they're in there playing, like, they're in their room, you're not going to stand in their room and watch them all the time. So if Kinsley turns 3 and she decides she wants to climb up to Kailyn's bunk bed, like, I'm 28. I can still fall out of a bunk bed. There are railings to keep them up there, but the ladder is still just a straight up ladder.
Yeah, I guess she'll learn.
She'll learn. That's what I'm saying. I love that attitude, because I don't think you should shelter a kid when they're young. Like, for instance, i.e. example, if they're going out and riding their bikes, I don't think they need knee pads, elbow pads, shin guards, a helmet, and a neck brace.
Stop.
What?
They need a helmet.
Well, a helmet is fine. I just threw that in there because that was
I'm
the
just
other
saying.
year. They do need to wear a helmet. I'm cool with that, but I don't think they need all that other stuff because if you fall on your bike, it's supposed to hurt. That's how you learn to like stay upright on the bike. That's your incentive. That's your driving force because falling sucks. If you just fall down and you don't feel anything, like, you're just going to be a dopey bike rider for the rest of your life. Like, you got to learn because there's consequences. Consequences are in place for learning purposes.
I mean, I don't want my kids to get hurt, but I get skin knees and stuff, but head injuries are a whole nother level. So
yeah, I didn't mean to lump, a helmet in the same category as a shin guard.
I just don't want people to think that, so we're just being clear.
Okay, we'll stay neutral.
I'm not saying to stay neutral, but I am saying I am pro helmet wearing.
Well, I am too.
That's all I'm saying.
I am. Even though when I was a kid, I never wore a helmet. I think times are changing a little bit. But also, when I was a kid, I had to get stitches in my head because I fell off my bike. Mm-hmm. You know, shit like that.
I'm not saying it. I'm just saying that I am pro helmet.
Yeah.
I get, like, all the other stuff. But,
is there any other parenting wins?
I think the girls have great taste in music for the most part. Kinsley's
a metalhead.
Kinsley's favorite band is the Small Town Titans. She is super obsessed. Her favorite member is Johnny. She loves drums, and she actually said to me the one day that her and Johnny are alike. She said, "Mommy, Johnny and I are the same."
And you're like, how?
And mind you, she's 2. And I said, how are you and Johnny the same? Like, I can't think of anything that they have in common. You know what I mean? Except they both like rock music, I guess. And Kinsley goes, I have drummers. Johnny has drummers.
She calls drums drummers.
Yeah, she calls drums drummers. And her drummers are little VTech light up drummers, and she compares them to Johnny's professional drums.
DW kit.
But whatever.
Or Pearl kit, whatever he has.
Whenever she found out John is going to be riding in the car with us to one of the shows, because the kids are going to come along for like a family trip, and I explained to the girls that they have to be on their absolute best behavior because Johnny's going to ride down with us. Kinsley was like, Johnny? In my car? And not Ben? And I was like, no, Ben is coming. John's coming. Mommy's going to sit in the back seat with you. And she's like, Johnny? In my car?
Yeah.
So excited.
So Kinsley watches our YouTube videos all the time, and she knows John and Phil from the videos, and they've been to the house. When those guys walk in the house and Kinsley gets to see them in the flesh, she looks at them like she is looking at like her favorite Disney princess just walked in the door. She's like, oh my God! Like they're cartoon characters to her.
Yeah. It hasn't hit her
so
that
funny.
like...
She gets so giddy and shy. She's like, oh my God, they're here. Oh my God, Mom, is this real?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
She doesn't say a word.
And she's not shy.
She likes Slipknot. She likes Disturbed.
System of a Down. She loves
Kailyn rock
likes
music.
Bieber.
Yeah. Kailyn is like our little girly girl. And some of the music Kailyn listens to, we don't so much. However, super Parowid, both the girls love Silver Wings by Merle Haggard. And they love Patsy Cline. And Kailyn is an Elvis fan.
Oh. Well.
They both like Frank Sinatra.
I'll tell you what, Merle Haggard is growing on me, and that's only because of you.
Good.
You know, not a big Merle fan. I'm not a big country fan in general, but you know, I'll be damned. The more you listen to it, the more you're just like, silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Good.
You know,
that's a wifey win.
That is a wifey win.
Both girls, if I ask them, where do you want to go to eat?
McDonald's.
Well, if they don't say McDonald's, the other option they say is Starbucks.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to call that a win. Sometimes it's a lose because it costs money.
Yeah, it's like $8 for a cake pop.
They want cake pops and cookies. I remember one time I asked Kailyn what her favorite restaurant was, and she was like, Starbucks. I was like, yes. So I call that a win. McDonald's Playhouse is free, and it's the best bribe ever. We got the girls to finally... It's kind of funny that we're talking about this, but... because in the beginning we said about how bad the pool situation was, but we bribed the girls with McDonald's Playhouse if they would jump in the pool without Ben having to catch them with their floaties on. They could jump in the pool and not have to have an adult there.
Yeah, just teach them bravery.
But they know that we have to be in the pool for them to jump in. But they wouldn't. They were afraid to, probably because of what happened last summer. But this summer we were like, no, you're fine. You have your as long as you have your floaties on, like you're gonna float. You need to jump in. Well, finally, my brother tried bribing them with $5. Like, you can each have $5 for a toy at Target and wouldn't jump. I go, I will take you to McDonald's tomorrow night for dinner. You can have Happy Meals and play in the Playhouse if you jump in that pool and don't make us catch you all afternoon.
Full sprint towards the pool.
Immediately, psh, splash. Oh my gosh, I float. This is so much fun. I can swim. This is great. So I call that a win.
That is a win.
That is a win. Sleepy grapes. That's a win and a fail.
Well, it's a lie, but so is Santa Claus.
I hope no one's kids are listening to this.
Nobody's kids are listening an hour and a half into this podcast. Yeah. So Kailyn has trouble sleeping some nights, and it's not her fault. She's just like, I can't sleep. I don't know what to do. So I said, Brittany and I, the whole family really, we enjoy frozen grapes at night. Sometimes that's like an often midnight snack that we do. So I get the grapes out of the freezer, and what I do is I take these frozen grapes, which are rock hard, and I run hot water over them until they float in the bowl, and then they're like little grape slushy balls. So I told Kailyn that Ben and Mommy sometimes have sleepy grapes before bed to help us sleep, and it's a special ingredient that I add to the grape to help her sleep. Which really, it's nothing. I just run hot water over it, and I hand her the grape. And she thinks it's a sleepy grape. She comes into the room and she's like, I can't sleep, guys. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, do you want a sleepy grape? And she's like, is that gonna work? And I'm like, yeah, try it. And I told her, I played it hard on her. I was like, I can only give you one, because if I give you two, you might not wake up in time tomorrow because you'll be super sleepy. So I was like, I can only give you one. So when I handed her this grape, she was like, oh my God, this is for real. I'm getting a sleepy grape. I'm such a big girl. This is crazy. So I give her the sleepy grape, and she eats it. And that night, the first night that happened, she just went to sleep and woke up fine the next day. And now, whenever she goes to bed, if she comes into the room and she can't sleep, I'm just like, do you need a sleepy grape?
Or she comes in, can I have a sleepy grape?
Yep. And that's usually, she does it very nicely, and that's usually after like an hour of her being in bed. And she still hasn't fallen asleep. Then she gets up and she's like, I can't sleep. Can I have a sleepy grape? And we're like, yeah, I'll get you a sleepy grape. Boop. Hand her the sleepy grape. And she's off to bed. And whenever I make a sleepy grape, she can see the kitchen from her bed. So she can tell if I'm just like running water over the grape or not. So like I have to open the cupboards and close them and like pick jars up and slam them down and like make it like rattle stuff together to make it seem like I'm adding these special ingredients to the grape.
It really is just the grape.
Really, it's just a grape. And I give her the grape and she's all good. But yeah. Babe, I'll be honest with you. I think we've talked a lot about parenting wins and fails, and I really gotta pee. So we should probably wrap this up, unless you got another win.
No, I was thinking the same thing. I think the best win is that we try every day to do our best, and sometimes doing our best means we fail forward, and we learn from our mistakes, and there's no right or wrong way to parent.
Ever.
There should never be.
Let's not say that. There's a wrong way to parent. If you're a shitty parent, you're a shitty parent.
Well, I think people get what we're saying, though. Yeah. What we're saying is there shouldn't be judgment, because I do feel like most parents, a good majority, are trying to just do their best, and sometimes it is just trial and error, and we're just doing what we can to get by. No child is identical.
Nope.
I mean, just because this way of potty training worked for this one doesn't mean this potty training worked for this one. And just because this worked for this child doesn't mean it's going to work for that child. And once you think you figured it out, they've changed, they've grown, they've developed a little bit more, they've matured a little bit more. Now you got to start all over again. And there's constantly peaks and valleys, and it's a constant learning experience. And I think every parent has fails and wins, but I think you're always winning as long as you're learning from those fails.
Yep.
And like I said, failing forward. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's what we've always done.
For sure. I think
I'm pretty sure every time you put Kinsley in the car, you'll always make sure one door is always open
from
until
now
you get
on,
inside.
I will. That is a learning experience.
Keys will be in your pocket. Whew. And not in the car.
Yep. I don't think anybody really has all the facts. It's just, nor do we. We just have a better idea of how to do it now than we did last year. And next year, we'll have a better idea of how to do it than we did this year. You know, it's a learning experience, and it's ongoing. Just do your best and have fun with it. They're children.
Yeah. Did you want to tell them about how they can, leave a message? I don't understand what that is, but...
Oh, there's this thing on our podcast on Anchor that you can, send us a voice message. If you want to be a part of the podcast and send us, your thoughts on parenting or any stories that you have or any ideas.
Or a Q&A.
Anything a question or anything you guys want to send to us that you think we might want to hear or that we might want to share on this podcast, because those voice messages that you send to us, which will be in our show notes down below, you can... send us audio messages, and they can actually be a part of our podcast, which is cool. So we can play your question or your thoughts, and then we can respond to them, and all kinds of stuff. And we're figuring out how to use it. So if you guys want to leave us one, that'd be awesome. I'll just do it at the link in the show notes on Anchor.com, that's where we do our podcast. So do it up there. But yeah, Spotify, Apple Music, you can find all this stuff now. We're getting out there. Brittany and I updated our cover photo today for our podcast. It's getting official. Let's get it going. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. As long as you guys listen, we'll keep recording. And yeah, contact us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. We will, be super happy to talk to you and hear your feedback on this stuff. It's a lot of the issues that we're going to discuss on these podcasts are very controversial or very widespread and relatable to people that live similar lives like us, to self-employed parents living pretty much, with everything that goes with it. And we're just going to talk to you about all the nitty-gritty that a lot of people kind of hide or don't want to talk about, or really only put the best foot forward. We talk about the other foot.
This foot.
Peace out, guys. We will see you in the next podcast.